righty. All righty. We appreciate you being here. Sorry, we got a little, a few seconds delays because you guys know I have a new computer and I love my computer a lot, 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 a lot. But the mouse, uh, I don't know. I really don't know. It's one of those light up mice that come with a keyboard that lights up on a gaming machine. It is just not working all that well, and it just, I don't know if you can see it. It's cool, and it just never has. It's six. I've cleaned the lens in here and the whole deal, and the lens in here, and it just doesn't work all that well. It is super frustrating when you're trying to click on stuff now. But anyway, more my problem than yours. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the fun and frivolity today, and there's lots of it. Speaking of frivolity, you guys remember Jeff Toobin, right? Jeff Toobin used to work for one of the big New York magazine papers, like the New Yorker. Remember that? And during COVID, Jeff and his teammates were on a Zoom call or Microsoft Teams call, or whatever, and they caught Jeff pleasuring himself, which he never denied, really. What he said was that he thought his camera was off. Okay, so who felt comfortable after that? Even if his camera was off, Jeff's on the call, pleasuring himself to somebody else who's on the call. Never said who or what. Yeah, that kind of stuff for you and I would get us fired. It would, we'd have to change careers. And normally there'd be a downgrade in our lives at that point. We'd have to, there'd be downshifting going on. But CNN brought him on, or back on. CNN legal analyst. He's a legal analyst, whatever that means. He's a leftist who likes to wax poetically about how bad Republicans are. So they call him a legal analyst. Jeffery Toobin announced on Friday that he was leaving the network. He'd returned after being put on leave following an incident where he, choke the chicken, supposedly accidentally. Yeah, okay. On a Zoom gathering with his other colleagues at the New Yorker, announcing the news on Twitter, Toobin, who was currently on vacation, announced he wouldn't be returning to the CNN airwaves following his time off, and in classic style, used the news to hawk his forthcoming book on the Oklahoma City bombing. Here's what Jeff Toobin had to say. Friends, I've decided that after 20 years, I'm leaving CNN after my vacation. It was great to spend my last day on air with pals Wolf, Anderson, and Don. Love all my former colleagues. Watch for my next book about the Oklahoma City bombing coming in 2023 at Simon & Schuster. Toobin had been with CNN since 2020, a network that, unlike the New Yorker, welcomed him back rather than firing him after he exposed himself on a Zoom call. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? CNN responded to the news saying that the network is grateful for Jeffrey's contributions to the network over the years and wish him all the best in his future endeavors. And if Jeffery Toobin calls you on Zoom, do not pick up. Do not pick up. Still, Toobin is one of CNN's highest profile departures since the network's parent company merged to become Warner Brothers Discovery and inherited new leadership that has suggested anti-Trump resistant programming wouldn't pass muster. The new folks at CNN apparently have said, the ratings for this thing are in the toilet. We can't, it is not working that the 24/7 anti-Trump, orange man bad, yellow journalism is going to make the difference. Conveniently, and let's be honest, probably wisely, Toobin turned off the replies to his farewell announcement. But that doesn't keep the Twitterverse from quote tweeting his farewell in a rare example of what makes the internet the internet. Pradheep Shankar tweeted this: "It's a stain on CNN's reputation that they didn't fire him at all." Jesse Kelly, who's obnoxious. Congrats. We all know how much you love time to yourself. Nicholas Fondacario tweeted, "I hope you cleaned up after yourself." The internet. The internet. All right. The president of the United States, Joe Biden, you have to wonder. I mean, I'm sorry. I think you have to wonder aloud. Is he okay? Now, we're saying that here this morning rhetorically because obviously we know that Joe Biden is not okay. You know, we talked about this in my house for a long time and basically blamed Joe Biden for allowing this to happen to her husband of so many years that this would happen, that she would, and we blame her because I believe that she could have shut all this down before. She could have just told Joe, "You're not running for president. You're not getting in a campaign. We're not doing it. We've been married a long time. You've been in politics for 40 plus years. No, it's not happening." And could have told all the people, she could have Melly granted his ass and told all the people around him, "Leave Joe alone. He's not getting involved." They had just lost, a few years ago, they just lost their other son to brain cancer. I think that took a huge toll on Joe Biden, knowing that his other son, Hunter, was rather a disappointment. So, Jill, I believe you not only let the country down, you let your husband down and your family down. Leah writes, surging U.S. gas food prices have prompted residents of Southern California to head south of the border to do their shopping and fill up their tanks. People in Southern California are going to friggin' Mexico to get gas and to get food. According to News Nation, some Californians are even driving hours to save money. Californians are driving hours, this is from RNC research, hours to Mexico for groceries and gas. It's much cheaper to do it down there. Everything is a lot cheaper down in Mexico. Many Californians make the 20-minute journey every day from San Diego to the San Ysidro border, which leads directly to Tijuana to bargain hunt. If you're on a budget, got to take care of yourself, said David McCarty, who lives in Chula Vista, California. I've been to Chula Vista. It's very nice, but it's very expensive. Gibran Jimenez drove nearly 2 hours to get to Tijuana with his wife, 2 children, and a third due next month. He says he needs all the financial help he can get. "I got to save as much as I can. Every penny counts," Jimenez says. For the 7th straight month, food prices in the U.S. have skyrocketed. California bargain hunters are shopping in Tijuana like never before. Shop owners at popular Mercado Hidalgo have seen a 20 to 30% increase in American tourism during the weekdays. When you look at the cost, it's easy to see why. A gallon of milk is 50% off compared to the US. A 4-pack of toilet paper is nearly $4 cheaper. and a 24 pack of Tylenol is also $1 less. So many aren't worrying about the cost to get there, and often fill up on gas because it's $1.24 cheaper than in California. As of Thursday, the average price for a regular gallon of gas in California is $5.38, according to AAA. Meanwhile, the Consumer Price Index showed annual inflation dropped slightly to 8.5% in July. We talked about that. Now, the White House claims the U.S. had zero inflation. This is what they do. No, inflation did not increase. So it did not have zero inflation. We are still dealing with 8.5% inflation rate. Here's what Biden says. I just want to say a number, zero. Biden said last week, while acknowledging Americans are still hurting. Zero. This is gaslighting at the highest, most ridiculous level. Today, we received news that our economy had zero inflation in the month of July, 0%. Here's what that means. While the price of some things went up last month, the price of other things went down by the same amount. The result, zero. You guys know about that, right? We talked about that. Check out the other videos. We talked about that. Check out the other podcasts. What we saw was a reduction in fuel prices, but the price for items of production are still increasing, so things are still going up. Ridiculous BS from the White House, tweeted Senator Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas. There's 8.5% inflation, and basically everything anyone ever buys went up in price. This is just cruel gaslighting from the Biden administration. Wow. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right, we're going to take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after these messages. All right, we're back. Thank you ever so much. Excuse me. Pardon me. No problem. I'll take a sip of this delicious coffee. I love the smell of jet fuel in the morning cup. November 390 Gulf Mike. Good morning, sir. Love that. Love that. All right, let's go. Let's continue the Falderall, and there is Falderall. We have covered this a lot, and we'll probably continue to cover it. FBI's Mara-a-lago ransacking of Trump's home takes another irresponsible turn. It gets worse. But it was going to get, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that it happened. I'm not surprised by any of it, but now it gets worse. And it's going to continue to get worse. The left wants us to continue to believe every single scandal, air quotes for those of you who are listening, that shows up is something that that Trump is going down for. This wet dream that somehow you're going to see them marching Donald Trump off to prison in an orange marching off to prison in an orange jumpsuit. It's not going to happen. The very same way I've told all of you that that's not going to happen to Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama either. It's not going to happen. Don't worry. Let's just try our best to use whatever is left of the system that we have, and understand it's a two-tiered system. It always has been and always will be. Money gets you power, and power gets you out of jail. Otherwise, Hunter Biden would be in jail under his father's law of, that much crack cocaine gets you in jail for 5 years, and we take all your crap from you. Obviously, this has not happened. Anyway, When the FBI raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago home, the allegations of overreach were resurrected, along with the absurd narrative around the Russian collusion hoax. Here we go again. The Justice Department threw a dragnet over the former president's home to find something that they could tie him to that long debunked Democratic Party myth. They were still desperately trying to tie him to some sort of Russian collusion hoax for the 2016 election. The additional layers of inanity revolved around the suspicion that classified nuclear secrets were on the premises. Was this a Hail Mary throw to find anything to disqualify the former president from running again based on the Russian investigation? Probably. It was undoubtedly executed as a warning for him not to run again. Even the left can see that, though they probably relish agents of the state being used to harass their political enemies. They like that. But another theory has been mentioned, again, casting the FBI in an irresponsible light. When this raid was done to find corroborating evidence on J6 and boost its profile in the national media, conservative commentator Eric Erickson, and I remember communicating with Eric way back in the Tea Party days, mentioned this along with Alana Habba, an attorney for Donald Trump. Erickson thought the raids were, quote, a fishing expedition, we call that here, to find damning documents linking the president to the riot. Habba added in a Fox News interview that the federal ransacking was ordered to increase attention about the riot while boosting ratings for the select committee, which includes soon-to-be booted Representative Liz Cheney investigating the event. This is from Axios. Again, this is not from some right-wing source. This is not from the Daily Caller. This is not from Epic Times. This is from Axios. Former President Trump's lawyer told Fox News Friday that the FBI search on his Mar-a-Lago home was an attempt to spin up negative attention that the probe into J6 Capitol riot has failed to generate. Driving the news, in my opinion, the J6 ratings. The show of J6 hasn't been going well, really, said Alana Habba, an attorney for Trump, on Friday's episode of Jesse Watters Primetime. They need a little drama, so they throw this out there. What she's saying, Habba also questions why Judge Bruce Reinhardt was allowed to sign off on the search warrant. They go to the judge who has recused himself in my Hillary case a month ago, Habba said. I would like to know why he recused himself in that case, but then he was able to sign the warrant. I want to know that. This is what his lawyer says. Because, and we talked about here on the morning report that this judge was an anti-Trump person, which he has perfect right to be, as long as he doesn't break the law, as long as that he upholds the law and does his job. He doesn't have to like Donald Trump. He doesn't have to cheer for Donald Trump. He doesn't have to wave the Trump banner. He doesn't have to have a Trump flag on, outside of his home. He doesn't have to participate in any of the boat parades. He does not. But he can't let his bias show up in his rulings and his decisions in his courtroom. And he has. That's problematic. These hearings are hardcore, inside the Beltway material, since they've been held primetime hearings for weeks, which the American people have paid little attention to amid the growing list of the domestic crisis impacting the country. Also, the FBI's report last summer cited that J6 was not result of an organized plot to overturn the presidential election. This is what's amazing. The FBI already said this was not a result of an organized plot to overturn the presidential election result. So what the hell are they talking about? Who's doing all this? And there was no evidence that the president or people directly around him were involved in organizing the violence. Of course, the left would highlight the words "so far." They haven't found evidence so far. But that report got released in August of 2021. The FBI could find people based on facial recognition technology or tracing the type of clothing one was wearing from security footage outside the Capitol, arrest them, throw them in jail. They would have found a smoking gun on any connection between Trump and J6 riots. They did not. It's a long list of events and documents that underscore the legitimacy behind this FBI ransacking of Mar-a-Lago. A Trump attorney has certified in June that there were no classified materials at the residence. Attorney-client or executive privilege protected some of the other documents seized by federal agents, and the trove of records about Crossfire Hurricane, the FBI spy operation on the 2016 Trump campaign, was declassified in January of 2021. The Trump White House issued a memo on its final hours. The haranguing of classified materials is also a red herring, seeing that the president is an ultimate declassifying authority. And he's the guy who can declassify anything, and did. And the regulations regarding classification do not apply to the president. The Supreme Court affirmed that in 1987. The left better not be hoping to get Trump on mishandling the classified materials beef, because when that just not happen, it's sort of how Trump is a criminal agent who was never within the realm of possibility. He was this Manchurian candidate, right? And in that very same vein, did the Justice Department already know that there were no classified documents at Mar-a-Lago? As if the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago home wasn't controversial enough, the Department of Justice might have known that there were no classified documents at the home of the former president since last June. One of Trump's attorneys verified that no classified documents remained on site, but someone at the Justice Department appears to have disregarded it as federal agents swarmed the residence last Monday. At least one lawyer for former President Trump signed a written statement in June asserting that all material marked as classified and held in boxes in a storage area at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence and club had been returned to the government. 4 people with knowledge of the document said. The written declaration was made after a visit on June 3rd to Mar-a-Lago by Jay Bratt, the top counterintelligence official in the Justice Department's National Security Division. The existence of the signed declaration, which has not previously been reported, is a possible indication that Mr. Trump or his team were not fully forthcoming with federal investigations about the material, and could help explain why a potential violation of criminal statute related to the obstruction was cited by the department as one basis for seeking the warrant used to carry out the day-long search of the former president's home on Monday, the extraordinary step that generated a political shockwave. Later this week, the unsealed search warrant pointed to allegations of obstruction of justice and violation of the Espionage Act, which, to quote the late Justice Antonin Scalia, is pure applesauce. Wow. The best part of the deluge of leaks since Attorney General Merrick Garland held a presser to defend his political witch hunt and called the employees and agents of the FBI faithful public servants and patriots, the best nugget here was the allegation that the FBI thought nuclear secrets were tucked away at the residence. No level of spin can produce a credible reason behind the ransacking, especially since the basis for this raid appears to be grounded on suspicions by government officials that not all the materials requested from Mar-a-Lago were returned last January. Again, remember we talked about this. It does seem that a cocktail napkin led to this federal approved plundering. Yes, a cocktail napkin was an item on the National Archives list, which points to what Mike Davis, a former law clerk for Justice Neil Gorsuch, noted about how the government overclassifies everything. It's also clear that no one read the critical memo issued on January 19, 2021, wherein all documents related to Crossfire Hurricane investigation were declassified by Trump in the waning days of his presidency. Well, can he do that? Yes. He's president. As much as some people hated it, at that point, he was president of the United States. On the other side, liberal media members are saying that Trump's lawyer's memo declaring no classified records at Mara-a-lago could be the basis for the obstruction charges. They're trying everything. They already knew. They knew, and they knew there was nothing they could do about it. They knew, and they know that the J6 hearings have been a complete and total cluster bust. They see, folks, they see Trump-backed candidates winning elections all over the country. I've said this to you for years. I'm going to say it one more time. Please listen, write it down. The left always tells you who they're afraid of. They can't help it. They can't chill. They can't just go on with business as usual. They can't. They can't. So they always tell you who they're afraid of. And they always go after whoever they're afraid of. Hard. And now that they have control over both houses of Congress and the White House, this group that is in charge of this administration, I guess they say they're not going to make the same mistake that Barack Obama made or previous leftist administrations. They're going to go hard. They're going to use everything within their power, even if it's not within their power. And that's what we're seeing here. That's the level of tyranny that we are seeing here. Folks, my name is Willie Lawson. This has been the Mona Report, a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.